Hello guys, welcome and thank you for enrolling. I'm very happy to have you here. So in this course, I'm very dedicated to actually teaching you everything I know about SolidWorks. So please dive into the course content, and if you have any question, don't hesitate to message me and I would answer your question as soon as possible. And I am actually planning, anytime you have a question, I'm actually planning to make a video on it just to answer your question so everything is clear. So we will start the next section. The next lecture is just in the brief introduction. So I want you to just introduce yourself in those 3 questions because I want to get to know you a little bit better, so that way I can improve my course on how I can better serve you. Thank you. I'm very happy to have you here once again and hope you enjoy the course. Have a nice day. Bye. Hello, welcome to this lecture. So in this section, we will be defining what SolidWorks is. To start, SolidWorks is a mechanical design software. So what does that mean? It means that the best way to think about it is any physical part that can actually be manufactured to sell, or just think about your car or your cell phone, your vacuum, or any physical item you have. Chances are those items are designed in SolidWorks or a software that is similar to SolidWorks. So another way to define SolidWorks is a feature-based software. So what does that mean? It means that when you look at this part, for example, these are the different features that are used to make this one part. So they are like the little pieces you need to make a whole part. So you think about this part, you break it down into little pieces, and all those pieces form this one part. And another way to think about the feature is the feature can be broken down into 2 parts. The first one is sketch feature. What a sketch feature means is that when I click on this feature and I click on this drop down arrow, you can see there is a sketch attached to it. So what that means is a sketch is required to make this extrude. So any feature like the extrude, revolve, sweep, luff, those are sketch features, which means they require a sketch in order for you to be able to use them. And another type of feature that is in SolidWorks is the applied feature. Applied feature can be either a fillet or a chamfer. So in this part has an applied feature, which is a fillet. This fillet can be applied directly to the part, and you don't need a sketch to be able to make it. As you can see, there isn't a drop down arrow attached to this fillet to be able to make it. And I'm just showing you this now just to define what SolidWorks is, because I believe learning visually is very important and is one of the best ways to communicate what you are trying to say. But don't worry, we are going to go into great details as to what each and every one of this feature is, and by the time you are done with this lecture, you will be able to design any part from A to Z. So don't worry about it. We're just going through the overview of what SolidWorks is. Another way to think about SolidWorks is a parametric modeling software. So what does that mean? It means that let me just show you. It means that when I click on this part, for example, and I edit the sketch, there is 2 ways there are two instances that make SolidWorks parametric. The first one is the dimension and the second one is the relation. So these 2 features are actually used to define the sketch. So it just makes it easy for us. Let's say you've modeled your part. I've made this part now, and let's say I decide that, oh, this dimension is different now and I just want to change it. So what parametric means is the dimensions and the relations allow us to go back into the sketch we've already made and easily change it, and it will be automatically applied to our part. So I'll just show you. So let's say this part now, I want to change that to 0.8, and this I want to change this to 1.5, And as you can see, that has changed, and when I just exit out of it, as you can see, that part has updated. So that's what parametric means. It means it makes it easy for you to change your sketch and everything will update in the part. Another way to think about SolidWorks is a solid modeling software, which means this part is one solid piece. All the wireframes and all the face geometry that are required to make this part are actually on it. And another way to think of it is when I click normal tool and I section it, as you can see, it is one solid piece. It is not hollow. So that is pretty much the best way to define SolidWorks. 3 things to keep in mind: it is a mechanical design software. It is a feature-based software, which means you need all the features to design one part. It is a parametric modeling software, which means it's easy for you to edit each part in the future. And it is a solid modeling software. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome to this lecture. So in this lecture, we'll be talking about the different file format in SolidWorks. The first file format will be an SLDPRT. That stands for solid part, which is the file extension for this part I have here. So when you have one single file with just feature, the file extension will be a solid part, which is SLDPRT. The next type of file extension you have in SolidWorks will be a solid drawing, which is named SLDDRW. So a solid drawing extension will be just for, like it says, your drawing. And the last one, the last file extension in SolidWorks is a solid assembly file, which is spelled SLDASM. So anytime you have an assembly like this one, where you have multiple components in it, is just not a feature, it's actually multiple parts in it, the file extension will be solid assembly, which is spelled SLDASM. So to recap, you have your solid part file, which is spelled SLDPRT. You have your solid drawing file, which is spelled SLDDRW, and you have your solid assembly file, which is spelled SLDASM. And don't worry about having to physically put those extension in when you save. SolidWorks will actually automatically save the right file you are working on under the right extension. But I'm just explaining it to you now, just in case if you accidentally delete the extension, just to know how to re-enter it back. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. So in this lecture, we will be talking about design intent. Design intent is very simple. So a good way to think of design intent is you are thinking of it in a way as to when you want to design, for example, this part is your plan of action and how you think that part should be designed, so that when you try to update it in the future, it makes it easy for you to update. So I'll show you an example. So if I roll this part back, you can see the design intent for this part. These two features were created first, then this feature was created, and the fillet were applied. So that way, now let's say the dimension has changed, and I just go back into my sketch and I change my dimension, and I change this to 1, and I change this to 1.5. And when I close it, everything updated without me getting an error message. So that is your design intent. It's just pretty much thinking about how you are going to design the part that everything will go smoothly whenever you have to go back and update something. So that is pretty much the definition of design intent, or how I say Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lecture, we will be talking about opening SolidWorks for the first time. So in this class, my plan is to actually build the lecture upon the previous lecture. So that way we just keep building the layer, so that way you increase your knowledge as you go. So to start, when you click on the SolidWorks icon, it should bring you to this page. This is like the first opening page you see in SolidWorks. Couple of things to know on this page. There are that many things going on. I can just click on this screen and this moves in, and I can click back, it comes out, but I'll click on the screen just to hide it. And you have your menu bar up here, which is pretty much file. And when you open a new part, there will be more options under this, but to start, the options under them are limited. I'm pretty much going to show you what it looks like once we open a new file. So right here you have your new file, and right here you have an open, you have a save and print, but those are not highlighted yet because you haven't started anything. And right here you have your option. So couple of things you can do on this page. You can open your previous file you were working on, and you can start a new file, and you can go into your options. Couple of things you can do in the options is change the units, but we are going to be covering this in detail in the next lecture. So I just want to show you what this page looks like. And on this section over here you have the search option. It usually comes with the SolidWorks help, but I usually click on this drop down arrow and change it to search command. So when I'm in here, let's say there's a command you want but you don't know how to find it, you can type it in here, and as you can see, a list of command on that E would come up, and you can pick the right one. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. So in this lecture we will be starting our first file to start designing our first part. To start, we want to click on this new right here, and I'll just X out of that. So if I hover over it, you see the new. We'll click on it, and this option comes up pretty much asking you which type of file do you want to work on. We have the first, which is a part file, which is if we want to work on a single part, and the image also tells us what a part file is. The next one, we have an assembly, which is when you work on multiple components in one, and we have our drawing. So to start, we want to start with a part file, so we'll click on it and we will click OK. So that is how you start a new file in SolidWorks, whether a part file, assembly, or drawing. You just pick the right one. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome to the next lecture. So what we will be doing in this lecture is actually opening and closing files in SolidWorks. To start, make sure you download the project asset for this lecture and save it somewhere convenient on your computer that is easy for you to access. So what we want to do is, now we want to click on this icon that says open, and the shortcut is Ctrl-O, and we'll click on this folder, and right up here, that is where you want to browse, or on the site rather, you want to browse to the file location. So mine is on my desktop, and I will click on SolidWorks class, and I have the shaft arm drawing and the part file. So I want to click on the part file, and I want to select open. And that is pretty much how you open a file. And you can also open the drawing. Let's open the drawing too. We'll click on the open folder, browse to the location, and select the shaft arm, open. And that is pretty much how you open a file in SolidWorks. Another way you can open files is you can go right into the folder where you've saved the drawings, or the part file and double click on them, and it's going to open in SolidWorks directly. So those are the two ways you can open file, or the shortcut key Ctrl-O. So to close is pretty much simple. You can either, so this will exit out of it. So what you want to do is you want to click on this X right here. This X up here closes SolidWorks completely, and this X right here closes the current drawing or part file or assembly that you are working in. So we'll click on this, and as you can see, it's going to ask you whether you want to save. We'll click don't save, and it has closed that drawing, but our part file still remains open. So what we want to do is close this as well. So we're just going to click close, and it has closed our part file, but SolidWorks still remains open. And if we want to close SolidWorks directly or completely, we can click this X, or we can exit it over here. So that is pretty much, and we actually still in a new part file here, which is indicated by this X up here. We can also click on that X, close it. Now we are just in SolidWorks, and we just back to the starting page where we can start a new part file or open, and we can close SolidWorks directly from up here. So that's pretty much how you open and close files in SolidWorks. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello. In this lecture, we'll be talking about how to control your model in SolidWorks. So let's open back the shaft arm that we previously opened. So now you have your shaft arm open. So there are a few ways to control it. Personally, I just use my mouse to control it. So in order to move it, to rotate it, hold on the scroll wheel, press the scroll wheel down, and just move it right and left to rotate it like this. To zoom in and out, use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Just roll it, your scroll wheel, to zoom in and out. And to select the face, you press the left key, and the right, if you left click on the face, it's gonna select the face, but if you right click, it's gonna select the face and the option to either edit that face and do some modification to that face. If you press the control key, the space key on your keyboard, it brings up this view where you can select any view you want. So that will be the space key, and that is pretty much all the stuff I use. And I'm pretty sure that if you hold down the control key and hold down the scroll wheel, you can move it left and right. So that's another one. And if you, that is pretty much the way I navigate it, but I pretty much just use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out and rotate it. And if I need to move it, I hold down the control key and move it left and right. So that's pretty much the basics of what you will use to move your part around. And as you start working with it, you will develop your own method of navigating and rotating your model. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. So in this lecture, we'll be learning how to change units in SolidWorks. To start, let's open the file we were previously working on, which is the shaft arm. So we'll click on this and select the shaft arm and select open, and let's open the drawing as well. Click back on the folder, select the shaft arm and open. So we have the drawing and the part file open. And one trick that I use to navigate between both files that I have open in SolidWorks right now is you press the R button. So the R button brings up your recent documents, and you can select whichever one you want to navigate to. So remember the R button. And so now we have this part file, and let's just go into the sketch, and we can see that this drawing is in inches, and the way I went into the sketch is you click on this drop down, right click on the sketch and click the edit sketch. So that's how I get into this scene, and that's how you get into the edit sketch mode. And now we can see the sketch is in inches, so we want to change it to millimeters. So what we do is click this options box up here. We want to go into document properties, units, and inches we want to change it to millimeter. And over here you can change how many decimal places you want it and the angle and all that stuff, and you'll click OK. As you can see, now the sketch has been changed to millimeters, and we can exit out of it. Now this document is in millimeter. Let's press the R button and select the drawing. The drawing is also in inches. We want to go back into the document, the options again, document properties, units, select millimeter, click OK. As you can see, the unit has changed to millimeters. That is pretty much how you change units in SolidWorks. Remember, options, document properties, units. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. So in this lecture we will be looking at how to save files in SolidWorks. To start, let's open back the last file we were working on, the shaft arm, and click open. So now there are different alternatives and options you have to save a file in SolidWorks. The first is you can press Ctrl S to save your file. Another option is you can press the save button up here to save it. And another option is you can come into the file and click save. But for this project, this lecture we will be looking at a different type of save. So we would go into the file and we'll do the save as. So the save as is we want to save another file type as this part, but we don't want to overwrite this part. So we would say, let's name it shaft arm 1, and we will click the save as and continue. So that means the SolidWorks is going to save this file as shaft arm 1, but it's going to continue working on this part, which is still the shaft arm. So we can do save, and as you can see, the shaft arm is still up here. It has saved another file type as shaft arm 1, but we're still working in this file type. So let's go back into the file again. We'll do save as, and this time we want to do, and you can see in our folder it has shaft arm 1 in there. So in this folder again, let's do another save as and 2. We want to do shaft arm 2, but this time we want to do save as copy and open. So what that means is it's gonna save this shaft arm as shaft arm 2, and it's gonna open this shaft arm 2. So we click save, and as you can see, it has saved the part file as shaft arm 2, which is up here, and it has opened it for us. When you work in assembly and you are trying to copy some file or working with different files in assembly, you will use the save as copy a lot. So that's just something to keep in mind. So those are the different ways you save in SolidWorks. You can save from here, Ctrl S, or you can go into the part file and do the different save as. And that is pretty much it, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lecture we will be talking about the user interface. So this are pretty much our user interface, but for this particular lecture we're going to be talking about the menu bar pull down, which are this up here. This is your menu bar pull down. So they are pretty much the same option as what you have here. They just have them listed in multiple places in SolidWorks. So there are different ways to access them. So as you work in SolidWorks, you are going to come up with better way of, an efficient way of modeling, which is your own style. From what I've seen, not everyone models the same way, so you will come up with your own way that works. So to start, we have our file, which is pretty much you have your new file, opening new file, starting new, open, closing file, and making assembly from part file, saving, and all that option here. On your edit, you have the same thing as what is up here, which is you can rebuild. Rebuild is when you change something and you press the rebuild. If the stuff didn't update, you press your rebuild. Rebuild will update everything to what it should be. So you have those settings here. Under your view, you pretty much have just the view, orientation view, pretty much the same thing that you have over here. So they just have them in different places. You have your lights and camera and all those options here. And insert is pretty much the same thing as your feature tabs, which you have your extrude, everything is in here. And it's just, you have access to those options here, but then you also have access to them here. The tools is pretty much different tools you will be using from time to time. But to start, you won't really have to worry about any of this option in here, not too much. Especially under this tool, you won't have to worry too much about it to start. This is more of advanced stuff. And the window is pretty much how you want to change your window. So we are working in single view now. We can actually change it to 2 views horizontal. We can change it to 2 views vertical. So whatever you do on this, it does the same thing on the other one, and we're just gonna change it back to single view. You can work with whichever one works for you, but I always like working in single view. And you have your help here, which is you can ask different SolidWorks question. And over here you have, we've gone through this in the previous lecture, you have your new, open, save, print, rebuild, and select, and your options and file property. So that's pretty much all your menu pull down bar. Thank you for watching this lecture, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to be talking about the command manager tabs, which is this right here. So this is your command manager tab. So the first one, you have your feature, which we talked about in the previous lecture, which you have your sketch features and you have your applied features. And these are your applied feature and these are your sketch features. And it's the same option, so there are several ways to get there. You can also click on insert and you have your extrude over here. So this has different tabs. So you have your feature tab, you have your sketch tab, which gives you the different sketch tools. You also have your surface tab and you have your evaluate tab. So to start, the tabs we are going to be working with the most is your feature tab, your sketch tab, and when we get into assembly, we might do the evaluate. But on the evaluate, the only 2 features you will use mostly is the measure and mass property. So this is your command manager tabs. And you can also, let's say for example, there are some tabs you want down here. You can right click on it and you have all these options you can check. So for my surface, if I uncheck that, you can see the surface has been deleted from the tab. And if I select surface and let's say I select sheet metal, and now I have more tabs there that I can work with. So it's pretty much based on what you're going to be working with, and you can add or remove the tabs as you want. So that is your command manager tabs. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lecture, we will be covering the feature manager design tree, which is this section right here. This section is very important when we are modeling because it contains couple of tools we need to actually make our model. So we're just gonna cover this couple of tabs. So the first one is the feature manager design tree. You're gonna be working in this most of the time. You have your property manager, configuration manager, expert manager, and the display manager. We might cover this configuration manager at some point in the lecture, but for now you don't need to worry about it. And most of your modeling, you're gonna be doing it in the feature manager design tree. So in this tree, what you have is the first important thing we have in this tree is our planes. So we have the front plane, top plane, and the right plane. This plane are what we would sketch on in order to be able to make our features. We are going to cover this more in details when we get into sketching. And another important thing we have on this feature manager tree is our origin point. So the origin point is pretty much this point, which lets you locate your part relatively to the world. So the rule that what I always do is, and most people that model in SolidWorks actually do the same, is you want to make sure that your model is always constrained to the origin point, and you build your model from there. So that way everything is fully constrained, and it's actually much easier to model that way. So you always want to make sure your model is constrained to the origin point. And right under the origin point, we have our features, which are the pieces that are used to design this one part. So for this particular part, we have our extrude, we have another extrude, we have a fillet, and we have another fillet. In some cases where you might have a part that is more complicated than this part, your feature tree gets longer. So any other feature you add to this part, for example, gets added to the tree. So for example, if I take the fillet and I say I want to apply a fillet to this face, and let me just do 0.05, and I click OK. As you can see, another fillet has been added to that feature tree, and this fillet we just applied has been added to that feature tree. So your feature tree can get longer and longer, and I'm just gonna delete that. And so now that's pretty much everything you need to know about the feature manager tree. It has your planes, it has your origin point, and it has the list of features that are used to design your part. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lecture, we will be talking about the heads up view toolbar, which is what is located right here. So these are your heads up view toolbars. So we're just gonna cover each one and so you can see what it does, and you feel free to follow along using this part. So when we have our normal tool, the first one is our normal tool. So which means the normal tool just means whichever plane you are facing. If you click the normal tool, it would reposition your part to face that plane head on, which is normal to that plane. So let's say if I rotate it this way, now my plane is almost pointing, my view is almost pointing to the right plane, and when I click normal tool, it would make it fully to the right plane. So that's what your normal tool does. The next one is the zoom to fit. So if I click on the zoom to fit, let's say I have my part over here, you click on the zoom to fit, it centers it back for you. You have it over here away from your part, zoom to fit, it centers it for you. Sometimes your part might disappear on you, so all you just need to do is zoom to fit, and it brings it back in the middle. You can also press the F key. The F key does the same thing. The next one is the zoom to area. So when we press this, and we're just gonna click and drag, and it zooms into that area. So remember, the way you do it is you click once, you click once on the area you're trying to zoom in, and you drag it out a little bit and you let it go, and it zooms to that area. So that's your zoom to area. So this is pretty much, you can toggle back to the previous views you were on. So that is pretty much toggling back to the previous view you were on. And the next one is the section view. You'll be using this quite often. So let's do normal to. We're gonna do normal to that plane, and we're gonna section it. So when we section it, what it does is it cuts your part in half. You can section it again. Let's say you can section it to the front plane, and it cuts it in that plane, and you can section it from the top plane, and it cuts it over there, and you can section it from the right plane, and it cuts it from the right plane. How the section is done depends on how your part is designed on the plane. So however you are designing your part will design how the plane cuts the part. So that is the section view. And the next one is the view orientation, which is pretty much, it lets you select a different view. If you click on this arrow, this option comes on and it lets you select a different view. Or you can also click on this arrow, you can select your front view, left, right, your top view, and your bottom view. So that's pretty much your view orientation. And the next one the next one in line is the display. The display lets you choose between having it shaded with edges, which means you can see all these black lines on the edge, and if we select the next point, it removes those black lines. So it pretty much just depends on you how you want to model it. And the next one is pretty much the wireframe, and the next one is with hidden lines. So it's just the different views you can model with, but most people usually model with this one with the black edges. You don't need to worry about this too much. And the show is pretty much, you can hide the different features or show them in your thing. In this option, like, you can hide your sketch or show them. You can hide your dimension or show them in this feature. And this is your appearance. So when you click on this, the appearance comes on, and we can add appearance to the material. We're gonna cover this later on, and we're just gonna close that. And the next one is the scene. So on the scene, you can change the type of scene you are working with. So that's pretty much how you change the scene, or you can add more to it. These are pretty much your favorite. I just always leave it on default. This, you don't really need to worry about it too much. And this is just pretty much the extra stuff. So this is like real graphics, shadow mode, ambient occlusion, perspective. It's just always have your, every time you rotate it, it will have it in some type of perspective. And I always have that off sometimes when I'm modeling, and just use the real graphics, or you can even turn that off. So you don't need to worry about that too much, but you'll be using the normal tool a lot and your section view a lot. So that is pretty much it with the heads up view to toolbar. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. So before we move forward in this lecture, I just want to give you a couple of tips that will help you tremendously as you go through this lecture. The first one is, actually both tips are actually up here in this search bar. So the first one is the SolidWorks help, and the second one is the command. So let's say we are covering a particular subject in SolidWorks that you need additional clarification on. So let's say, for example, we are covering the extrude and you need more explanation on the extrude. So what you can do is type the extrude in that search and click search, and this help bar will come up. And just to let you know, you need to be connected to the internet for this to come up. So this will come up, and now you have all these different options. Creating an extrude feature, you can click on it, and it gives you the walkthrough of exactly how to create it. So that's another way to get additional help. And so any subject you are looking for, make sure you are in the SolidWorks help and type the subject in there and that option. So if I type in line, and as you can see, different topics about line came up, sketching line, and here you go, you have how to create a line. And the next one is the command option. So with the command selected, let's say there's a command you want to use but you don't know how to find it in SolidWorks, we can again type in sketch, and as you can see, the options are coming up for all the features or tools that are under SKE, and you can select the right one. And now SolidWorks is telling me to start my sketch. So that is the first tip I want to show you before we move forward. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome to another lecture. So in this lecture, we are going to be talking about sketch planes, what they are, and how to make one. So to start, let's start a new, click on new part. Okay. So now, in order for you to draw any sketch, you always need a plane to draw your sketch on. And these are your sketch planes over here. We have the front plane, the top plane, and the right plane. Those are the three main planes SolidWorks gave you. So you can select your front plane over here and click sketch to start your sketch. Or let's say if I want to start a sketch and I click on this sketch, now as you can see, SolidWorks is telling me please select the plane on which to create the sketch for the entity. So now I can either select the front plane, the top plane, or the right plane on this screen and to go into the sketch mode, or we can also click on this drop down and we also see the same option in there. So I will select the front plane, and now I'm in the sketch mode. And how you can tell you're in the sketch mode is you will see an exit sketch sign up here, and also done sketch and exit sketch over here, and you'll see this red gizmo here. So that is how you know you're in the sketch mode. And once we're in our sketch mode, we can just start drawing something. And that is how you select the plane to sketch on. So I'm going to exit out of that sketch without saving it. So now that is your sketch plane and how you draw on the sketch. So SolidWorks also give you the option to create a plane, a sketch plane. So to create another plane, in addition to these planes, we'll go into the features and we'll select this reference geometry and we'll select planes. So now it's asking for the first reference plane to constrain the plane on, because you have to tell it where you want to create that plane. So let's say we select we'll click on this drop down and we'll select our front plane. So now we're telling SolidWorks, by default SolidWorks is going to make the plane parallel to the first plane you select. So now we are telling SolidWorks this plane is 1.1 distance from the front plane. So as you can see, we can increase this number and decrease this number, and that plane goes back and forth. And another thing we can do is we can offset it to the other side, and as we increase and decrease the number, the plane goes back and forth. And another thing we can do is we can add as many planes as we want. So let's say we want 6 planes 1.5 apart from each other. We can select that and we click OK. So that is how you add planes. And another way you can add plane is by creating a sketch. So let's say I go on my front plane, go to sketch mode, sketch, and let's say I just draw a midpoint line, something like this on this front plane, and I will exit that plane, right? So I have that plane, I have that sketch on the front plane. So I can go back, make another plane, and my plane, again, I'll select my reference plane, which is my front plane. So I'm telling SolidWorks is putting it parallel, but what I want to do is I want to do a perpendicular plane. So I want, see, as you can see, the yellow thing is showing that that is my first constraint. I want this new plane to be perpendicular to the front plane, and I have to select the second reference. So now I'll select that line. So now, as you can see, SolidWorks has created a plane that is perpendicular to that line. And now if I click OK, we have our new plane, right? Perpendicular to the front plane. And another thing is I can draw another plane. So we'll go to reference geometry plane, and I'll do the same thing on front plane, and I want a perpendicular, and I'm going to select my second reference, which is that line, and this time I want it angled, so I can change the angle on that plane. As you can see, if I flip it, it goes back in the other direction, and you can change the angle on the plane. So that is how you add the angle plane, and we click OK. And the last example we're gonna cover is the mid plane. So now I have these two planes here, and let's say I want to draw a new plane in between these two planes. So we can go back to the feature tab, reference geometry plane, and it seems like my plane was selected prior to. Let me just exit out and make sure I'm not selecting anything. Then I'll go back into reference geometry plane. So I want to put a plane between these two planes, so I'll select this plane as my first plane, and let me just make this number 0 for now. Oh, so even without doing that, I can select the mid plane, right? So now it's asking me for my second reference. I'll select this plane, and now as you can see, there's a new plane between. Click OK. And that is the plane feature in SolidWorks, how you sketch on a plane and how you make new planes. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome to another lecture. So in this lecture, before we move forward, I want to show you how to make an axis. And you probably won't be using this feature, but I still want to show you how to make it nonetheless, because there are other ways to revolve, because mostly an axis is used for revolving. So you can add a center line into your sketch to revolve around. So personally, I don't use the axis, but I still want to show you how to make one. So to start, let's click on the reference geometry and select axis. The first kind is a line axis, a one line. So we'll select our line, and now you can see SolidWorks drew the axis 1 on that line. And I drew all the sketch previously just to show you the different option under the axis. The second type of axis is a two-plane axis. So when I select this line and I select my front plane and my right plane, and now as you can see, at the point where those two planes intersect, SolidWorks will draw an axis there. And the third type of axis is a two-point axis. So when I select this point and that point, and again you get your axis. And the third type of axis is a cylinder axis. So if I select this cylinder, and SolidWorks will draw an axis in this at the center point of that cylinder. And the last type of axis is a point to plane. So I need to select the point, and I need to select the plane. And now as you can see, SolidWorks has drawn a line that is coincident between this point and this plane. And those are pretty much all the different ways you make an axis. But there are other ways in SolidWorks. Like I said, there isn't one way to model in SolidWorks. There are many ways to model, and there are actually easier ways to model without making an axis. but anyway, that's how you make one. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome to this new section. In this lecture, we are actually going to be covering the line tool, and this section is entirely about the sketch tools, but in this lesson we are going to be covering the line tool. So to start, we select the new part. Okay, and to draw any sketch, the first rule you always want to keep in mind is you must always draw your sketch on a plane. Without a plane, you won't be able to draw your sketch. So unless if you do a 3D sketch, of course, but for everything we are going to be covering is going to involve doing a 2D sketch. So to draw our first line, we will select the front plane and select sketch. So to draw a line, and now we're actually in the sketch mode. A couple of ways you can tell you are in the sketch mode is you see the exit sketch sign up here, you also see the red gizmo down here, and you also see another exit sketch sign up here. So to draw our line, we'll select the line, click on this point and click on another point, and that's how you draw a line. So the next option under a line is the center line, which you can select, click this point and click that point. And a center line is pretty much a construction line that you can use to aid your sketch, but won't necessarily be used to make a feature. And everything will be clear as we move on. So for this lecture, we're just going to focus strictly on how to draw a line. So that's how you draw the second type of line, which is a construction line. And the third type of line is a midpoint line. So when I click on that and drag it, it actually draws the line from the midpoint in both directions, symmetrical in both directions. So select the line, click here and click there. So let me delete that midpoint and let's draw another midpoint here. So those are pretty much the option under the line. You have your first type, which is a solid line, and you have your second option, which is a construction line, and you have your third option, which is a midpoint. And once you're done with your sketch, you would click on this exit sketch. So if I click on this exit sketch, now everything my sketch remains the same, and I can now use my sketch to make a feature. So let's go back into the sketch by clicking on this sketch in the feature manager tree, right click on it and click edit sketch. So let's say I delete all this stuff, and now if I click on this red arrow, now SolidWorks is asking me, do I want to discard it, because any edit I made in here will not be saved. If I discard it, see, my sketch remains the same as it was before. But if I go back into that sketch again and I delete this and I draw another line, now when I click done with sketch, everything is saved and this is my new sketch. So anyway, that's how you draw a line and getting into sketch mode and exiting sketch mode. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to be learning how to draw the rectangle. So to start, let's just pick any plane. We can pick the front plane again and click sketch. Again, you will know you are in the sketch mode when you see the exit sketch up here and this red gizmo down here and this in the upper right hand corner. So to draw a rectangle, we'll start from the first rectangle, which is a corner rectangle. So with that, you want to click one and drag it to the next corner and click. So you can click one, you can also drag it in the opposite direction and click again. So, and one key thing you need to know with drawing any of the sketch tool is when you click on the sketch, you will see the 2 points on it that is indicating that it is a 2-click, which is corner to corner. For this next one is indicating is a 2-click from center to corner. So we'll click the center rectangle and just zoom out and pick any space, click and drag. So as you can see, we clicked on the center and we click on that corner to make it. Let's do it again. We'll click center and drag and click. So that's how you draw the center rectangle. And the next one is a 3-point corner rectangle, which is you click, you drag out, click, and you now drag out and click. So that is a 3-point corner rectangle. Again, you click, you can drag it in any direction you want, click and drag out and click. So that's how you do a 3-point corner rectangle. And the next one is a 3-point center rectangle, which is you click, drag out, click, and now your rectangle is almost symmetrical. You click again, you click, drag out, and you click. So that is pretty much how you do the center 3-point center rectangle. And the last one is a parallelogram. So we'll click on it, click our first point, drag out, click, and now you can move it in any direction you want and you can click. So that is pretty much how you draw the rectangle in SolidWorks, and you will know with the hints of the point it has. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. So welcome back. In this lesson, we will be learning how to draw the circle in SolidWorks. So to start, we would pick a plane. For this one, let's pick the top plane. And we would click on our first circle, which is a circle. So when we click on the circle, we can click and drag it out and click. And it's that simple. That's how you draw a circle. You click, drag it out and click. And that is how you draw a circle. And the next one under the circle is the perimeter circle, which is a pretty much 3-point click. You click, drag it, click, and drag it and click. And again, you click, drag it, click, and drag it out, and you click again. So those are the two types of circle they have under the sketch tool, the regular circle and the perimeter circle. As you start working with SolidWorks, you will find which one is convenient for you to use. And personally, since I've been using SolidWorks for years, I can't think of one time that I've used the perimeter circle, because there isn't actually one way to design, but you would come up with your own way. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. So welcome back again. In this lesson, we will be learning how to draw the slot. So to start, let's pick a plane, and for this one, let's pick the right plane, and we'll select sketch. And now let's go under the slot. Now we have the first one, which is a straight slot. We click on it, we'll pick a point, drag it out, pick another point and drag it up. And that's how you draw your first slot. Click, drag, click, and pull it up and click your third point. And the next type of slot is the center point straight slot, which is you click and it makes it symmetrical in both directions, and you click and you drag it up and you click. So it's kind of like the mid line we drew when we were drawing the line. You click and drag it up, and that's the second one. And the third kind is a 3-point arc slot, which means you pick your first arc point, you pick your second arc point, you pick your third arc point, then you now drag it out to make your slot. So you are making the center of the slot first, picking the first point, picking the second point, picking the third point, and dragging it out to make your slot. And the third kind is the fourth kind is a center point arc slot, which is, let me just zoom out over here. You pick, drag it out, pick your next point, and now draw your arc, and now zoom it out. Drag it out. So you pick your point, pick the edge of that point, and now draw your arc, pick the third point, and now drag it out. So those are the ways you draw a slot in SolidWorks. And again, once you start working, you will figure out your own pattern of what to use. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to be learning how to draw the arc. So to start, let's select the plane, and I'll draw mine on the right plane. Click sketch. And now let's draw the first type of arc, which is a center point arc, which is you select your first point, you drag it out, select your second point, and you now pull it. And another way is you select your point, drag it, so select your third point, and you draw your arc. Again, select your center point, drag it out, select your second point, and now drag it out, and select your third point. And that's how you draw the first type of arc. And the second type of arc is a tangent arc, which means you always have to start that arc on the end point of some type of line segment. So we'll select this end point, and now it allows us to drag it out and select our second point. And you can keep going that way. And that's how you draw a tangent arc. And the third type is a 3-point arc. I use this a lot, and you'll most likely be using this a lot too. And I click my first point, click my second point, and drag it up. In my opinion, it's the easiest I've found in it. Click my first point, click my second point, and you drag it up. You can click your first point, click your second point, and you can drag it down. So it doesn't really matter. You can click your first point, click your second point, drag it to the side. So thank you. That is how you draw the arc in SolidWorks, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. So welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to be learning how to draw a polygon. So to start, let's select a plane, and you can select anyone. I'll select the right plane, click sketch, and click your polygon. And the two things you need to keep in mind when you are drawing a polygon is the first one, which is asking you for the perimeter, which is the amount of size. And the second one is you need to pick whether you want your circle inscribed or semicircle. So let's do the inscribed one first with its perimeter. So we'll click our first point, drag it out, click. And as you can see, the circle is on the inside of the polygon. We click, drag out, click. Each side, the circle is on the inside. I click OK. Now let's select another to draw another polygon. This time we want to do 9-side polygon or 10, and we want it semicircled. So we'll click, drag out, and click. Now, as you can see, the circle is on the outside. Let's do that again. 10, semicircled. We click, drag out, and click. The circle is on the outside. Thank you, and that's how you draw a polygon in SolidWorks. And I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to be learning how to draw the spline tool. So to start, let's pick our front plane and select sketch. The first type of spline we need to learn is the regular spline, which is you'll be using this most often, which is you click a point, you click your next point, you click another point, you click another point. So it's pretty much you clicking all the points you want the spline to pass through. And once you're done, you right click and press select. So you've drawn your spline. So now that you have your spline, you can click on those points and drag them to reposition those points. So that is how you draw the first type of spline. And another type of spline you'll be using most often is the style spline. So we'll select the style spline and we'll just click another point, 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 and press select. So the difference between these two types of spline is this point, you use this point, the end point of the construction line, to control your spline, as opposed to this spline where you use the point itself to control the spline. So that is the difference between those two types of spline, and those are the ones you'll be using most often. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this next lesson, we are going to be learning how to draw the ellipse tool. So to start, let's pick a plane. Top plane in this lesson, sketch. So the first, we aren't gonna cover this parabola, but with the two type of ellipse tool you'll be using most often is either the partial ellipse or the ellipse. So the first one is you click on the ellipse, you pick your center point, you pick your edge, and you drag it up, similar to how you draw the slot. Click your first point, your center point, pick your second point, and you drag it up. And the next one is the partial ellipse, which is you pick your first point, pick your second point, drag it up, and now start drawing your ellipse. And that's how you draw the partial ellipse. Remember, it's a 4-click, pick your first point, pick your second point, drag it up, click, and now start drawing your ellipse and click. And that is the two type of ellipse you will be using the most in SolidWorks. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to be talking about undefined sketch. So basically, undefined sketch is very simple. So let's click on the front plane and click sketch, and let's just draw a rectangle box, for example. And now you have your rectangle. This sketch is an undefined sketch, and there are two ways to know whether a sketch is undefined. The first way is the sketch will be blue. Anytime you work on a sketch, let's say I exit out of this sketch, that sketch is undefined, because let's just go back into the sketch and edit the sketch. And there are several ways you know the sketch is undefined. The first is the color is blue. The second is it would have this minus sign in it. And the third is it would say right down below here, underdefined. So that is an undefined sketch. And every time you sketch, you always want to make sure that your sketch is fully defined. And we will talk about that in the next lecture. Thank you, and I'll see you. Hello, welcome back. So in the last lecture, we talked about an undefined sketch, which we still have on the screen. And now we are going to fully define the sketch. So to fully define a sketch, there are two ways you can fully define a sketch. The first way is you can add relation to the sketch, which SolidWorks automatically added those relations when we made this rectangle. So the second way we can fully define a sketch is by using our smart dimension. So we're going to click on the smart dimension and add the dimension to this line, and let's make that 6. So now you can see that these two lines are fully black, meaning that those lines are fully defined. So, and the only thing that is left is we see that this line are still blue. and you can tell that the line is undefined because I can still grab those blue line and move it up and down. So to make this line, to fully define this line, we click on our smart dimension again, and click on the smart dimension, select this line, select that line, and let's make that 5. Now you can see that our sketch is fully defined. And a couple of ways to tell that your sketch is fully defined is the sketch will be completely black all around, and you can see that our minus sign is gone over here, and up down here it says fully defined. So those are the 3 ways you tell that your sketch is fully defined. So let's delete this sketch and draw another sketch. So let's draw a line over here, something like that. So now this sketch is undefined. So now we want to tell SolidWorks where this sketch is in relation to the origin point. Like I said in the previous lecture, you always want to constrain your sketch to the origin point somehow, and you move and you build on your part from there. So let's just start by adding a smart dimension, telling SolidWorks this line to the origin point is 5. And let's tell SolidWorks this line is also 6. And let's tell SolidWorks this line is 3. And our sketch is still not defined. So we need to tell SolidWorks that let's add a relation to this point and the origin point, and let's make it horizontal, meaning this point, this line is on horizontal level as the origin point. So now our sketch is still not fully defined. We can tell that this is defined, but now let's drag it around. See, this line is still moving, meaning that it needs a relation. So let's click on this line and add a vertical relation to it. Now our sketch is fully defined. So you can again, you see, in some cases, I'm glad this happened. In some cases, you see my sketch is fully black. It says fully defined down here, but the minus sign is up there. So what we can do is click on update, and now you can see that the minus sign is gone. And let's just exit and go back into that sketch. You can see that the minus sign is gone. My sketch is fully defined by it being all black, and it says fully defined down here. Anyway, that is how you fully define a sketch. You want to make sure you are adding dimension or constraint to it in relation to the origin point. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lesson, we'll be learning how to add relations to our sketch. So to start, let's select the top plane, click sketch, and the first type of relation we are going to talk about is let's draw a line and put the line on the origin point, click, and click another point. So this green, anytime you draw your sketch, this green thing you are seeing on it these are your relations. And if you don't see it on your sketch, if you come into this I2 and let's find the relation right here. If I click that, and you can see that SolidWorks has hide it, and when I click on that again, you can now see it. So just in case if you can't see it now, just go into this I2 and select the relations test to show it. So now the first type of relation is like a coincident, and when you hover over it, it tells you what it is. A coincident is pretty much that point of that line is coincident with the origin point, meaning they are both touching, they are on the same exact point. And the next type of relation is vertical. So this line, we have a coincident relation and we also have a vertical relation on this line, meaning this line is vertical. I can't make it angle, I can't make it horizontal, it's vertical. So to make it horizontal, I will have to click on that line, and you see the vertical relation in there. I will have to delete it, then I can select the horizontal. Now we have a horizontal line. So let's draw another line and let's make this line vertical. So if you click on a point and drag it up, SolidWorks actually automatically tracks the vertical line for you, and you can click, and now this line is a vertical line, and it's indicating that with this green vertical line up here. And let's say you don't have that on it, you can delete that vertical and we can select it in here. Another type of relation you have in SolidWorks is, let's draw a line and let's draw an arc. Click on, when you draw, it will be a 3-point arc. Click on this point to start your arc, bring it down and click on somewhere back here. So you have your arc and you have your line. So this arc, and sometimes if you don't know what is coincident, when you hover over it, as you can see, the purple line is indicating what is coincident. So it means when I drew this line, the tracking in SolidWorks made this line coincident with that point. So we can delete that. And now we want to make this arc tangent to this line. So the way you add that relation is when you click on this line, you hold your control key and you click on this arc. Now when you select two instances to sketch, SolidWorks is going to give you the available options that are available for that line. So you can make it equal curve length, but for this one we want to make it tangent. So we're going to click the tangent. Now you can see the tangent is showing, which means this arc is tangent to that line. So another type of tangent you can do is you can draw a line and draw a circle. Now if we click this circle, hold the control key and click the line and select, you also have the option again. Anytime you click to sketch, SolidWorks will only show you the options that are available to make a relation for those two instances. So in this one we want to press the tangent. Now this circle is tangent to that line. So another type of relation you have is, let's draw a line. On this line we can use this line, or you can draw another line. Let's draw another line like that. So now again, because of the tracking in SolidWorks, the coincidence is showing that this line is coincident with that point, and it's indicating, when you hover over it, it's indicating it by the purple point. So we can delete that, and we want to click on this line and we want to hold the control and click on this line. And now you see all the options that are available for those two lines. You can make it horizontal, vertical, collinear, and perpendicular, parallel, and equal. So we want to make this line perpendicular, which means this line is perpendicular to that line. That is what that means. And another type of relation we have is, if you draw two lines and another line just standing next to each other. So when you click on this line, hold the control key and click on this line, we can select the parallel relation. So that means these two lines are parallel to each other, meaning they are going at the same angle. And another type of relation we have is, if you have a circle and you draw another circle, when you select this circle and hold the control key and select that circle, there are these options that are available. You can make it concentric, meaning that those two circles are on the same point, origin point. You can make them quadro, which means they are the same on the same diameter, and you can make them tangent, which makes them kind of like puts them tangent to each other. But for this lesson, we're going to make it concentric. So that is pretty much the relations you have in SolidWorks. So relations is pretty much you adding, when you make your lines and you draw in your sketch, you pretty much adding the relation to them, so that way your sketch is in a way constrained, and we are going to be talking about it in the next lecture. So, and another type of relation we have is when you draw a line and you draw another line and you draw another line in between them, right? Let's make the middle line, let's make it a construction line, and let's make it vertical. So now, holding the control key, if you click on this first line, click on this second line, and click on your construction line, now we get the option, the symmetry option. So when you click on the symmetric, it makes these two lines symmetric to each other via your center line. So in order to make two objects symmetric to each other, you need a center line, and your center line has to be a construction line or a center. Yeah, it has to be a construction line or center line. And that is pretty much relations in SolidWorks, and you will learn the relation as you go, so don't worry about knowing all the relations now, and I'm just showing you the overview of it. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. In this lesson, we'll be learning how to add dimensions to our sketch. So to start, let's pick on the front plane and click sketch. And let's draw our first shape, which is a rectangle. Click your point, drag it out, and click another point. So to add a dimension to this rectangle, you will click on your smart dimension, and you select the line and drag up, click, and you can enter what your dimension is. For this, let's make it 5. And another way to add a dimension is you can click on a let's select that again, click on a point and click on another point and drag out, and let's make this a 4. And once you add your dimension, you can click on it, and the properties comes up on the left side of your screen, and there you can edit the dimension, you can change the size, you can add the tolerance or how many decimal places you want. All that is on the left side. But you can also edit your dimension by double clicking on it again and changing it to something you want, or double clicking, changing it back to 5. So that is how you add dimension. Let's do a couple of shapes more. So let's do a circle. So we click on the circle, drag it out. When you have a full circle like this, when you add your dimension, SolidWorks is going to add it as a diameter. So let's make that 4. So now we have this circle, and you can see because it's a full circle, SolidWorks is adding the dimension as a diameter. So let's draw another shape. This time let's draw an arc. I'm just gonna move to this side. Click your first point, your second point, drag it up, click, and let's draw a line to connect that arc. So now when we add a smart dimension to that arc, and let's make it 2. Now as you can see, it has a R2 next to it, meaning that that dimension is a radius, because this is a radius and this is a diameter. So let's do our last example, which is going to be, let's draw something like this. Draw a line, an angle up, and something like that, and down. So we have a shape like that. So now we can add our smart dimension, add the length of that line. Let's make that 6. because we have an angle here, to do an angle dimension, you select the smart dimension, you select this line and you select that line and you get your angle, and you can make it what you want. Let's make this 125. And the same thing goes, as you can see, this line is more of an angle too. Let's do the angle again. You select your smart dimension, select this line and select that line, and let's make that 125 as well. And you can add another dimension to this line up here. We can either select the 2 points, or we can select the line, or we can add the dimension to this line. So let's do this line to this line. So we select this line and we select that line, and there you go, we have our dimension. Let's make that 4. So that is pretty much how you add dimension in SolidWorks. You select your smart dimension. You can do point to point, or you can do the line. When your circle is full, the dimension is going to be a diameter. When it's half, it is going to be a radius. You add your angle dimension by selecting this line and the first line and the second line. So let's delete this 4 dimension. Let's say we want to add another dimension to this line, but we don't want to add it from this point to that point. We want to add it the way this line is angled. So we'll select our smart dimension, select that line, and as you can see, it's adding the 4 to it, but to make it align, you have to like pull it down a little bit, just like at the angle that or at the position that I have it. Then you pull it down and select. So now you have an aligned dimension, and you can make that 5. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So anyway, that is how you add dimension in SolidWorks, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. So in this lesson, we are going to be talking about sketch modification, and this lecture in particular will actually be covering adding sketch fillets and chamfer. So to start, let's start a new sketch on the front plane and select sketch. Now let's draw a rectangle on the origin point. So I'm using the center rectangle on the origin point, and click on the origin point and drag it out. So we have something like that. So following with the last lecture we did, let's add dimensions to it to fully define our sketch. So we add a dimension here, let's make that 6, and add another dimension, let's make it 6. So we have our sketch and it's fully defined. So you have your sketch fillet and chamfer here. So when you pull the drop down, you have sketch fillet and sketch chamfer. Let's do the fillet first. And in this fillet, let's make it 0.5. So that is pretty much, you input your fillet size, which is 0.5. And now to add the fillet, you can you know what, let's make it 1, so it's big enough so we can see it. So what you would do is, you can, to add a fillet between these 2 lines, you can click on this line and you click on this line and you press OK, and your fillet has been added for the 1. And another way you can add a fillet between 2 lines is you can select the point that is connecting both lines, and it's gonna add the fillet, and click OK. And that is how you add a fillet to a sketch. So let's close that, and let's now go to the chamfer option. So the chamfer option has 2 options. You have either the distance chamfer or the angled distance. So let's try the distance first. For this one, we want to make the distance, let's try 0.8 and 0.8. So we have 0.8 and 0.8. We'll select our first line and we'll select our second line. As you can see, the chamfer has been added 0.8, 0.8. So for the second one, let's click OK, and let's go back into the chamfer, And for this second one, let's try the angle distance. So the angle distance lets you put in the distance and the angle you want for the chamfer. So we're just gonna do the 0.8 and 45 degree. So we'll select this line and that line, and if I zoom in, you can see the 45 degree and the 0.8. So that is the way you add this fillet, a sketch fillet and a chamfer to a sketch. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. So in this lesson, we are going to be talking about the extended tool and the trim tool. So to start, let's just click on the front plane, click our sketch, and let's start with the extend tool. So to draw the extend tool works like when you have a line, and let's draw a line, and let's say I have another line, but let's draw the line over here somewhere, and let's draw another line here, and let's draw another line here. So how the extended tool, and let's draw another line here. So we have something like that. So how the extended tool works is you click on this drop down, click extend, and when you click on this edge, it extends this line to that edge, and that is that. And when you click on this edge, it extends the line to that edge. And when you click on this edge, the same thing, click on that edge, click on that edge. That is how the extended tool works. So let's now do the trim tool. How the trim tool works is, the first one is the power trim, and how the power trim works is you just press the left click and hold it down, and anything you touch gets deleted. And that is how that trim tool works. And the second one is the corner tool. So let's press OK, and let's draw two lines, something like this. Let's draw another line that is crossing that. So we go back into the trim tool, we want to break the corner tool. So if I select this line and this line, it deletes everything at the corner of those two lines, and that's how the corner tool works. And I'm just gonna go back and add the corner tool, and I select this line, and when I select this line, this two gets deleted, and that's how the corner tool works. And the third type is, let's press OK, delete this, and let's just draw something like this. Let's draw a line, two lines with, and let's draw another line, something like that. Let's draw another line, something like that. So let's click on the trim tool, and let's trim. So this one is trim away from the inside. So with this, you need to select your boundary. So I can select this line as my boundary and this line as my boundary. So when I select this trim line, it trims everything on the inside of that boundary. So it trims everything on the inside of this two line. And let's go back. So let's select the trim again, and this time I'm gonna do the trim away from outside. Again, I have to select my boundaries, and when I press the trim tool, select that line. It trims everything on the outside of those boundary lines. Or you can, as you can see, when I select that line, everything on the outside of these two boundaries gets trimmed. The first one is, it trims the entities on the inside, and the second one trims and the entities on the outside. I'm just gonna press the Ctrl Z to undo, and let's try the last trim, which is trim to the closest. I use this a lot, and that pretty much trims everything to the closest angle. So you trims everything to the closest, so to the closest intersection, and that is how that trim works. So anyway, that is the trim, and thank you. I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. So in this lesson, we are going to be covering the offset entity too. So to start, let's static sketch on the top plane, sketch, and now let's draw a line. Draw a line somewhere here, and let's draw a rectangle somewhere here, and let's draw a circle somewhere here. So we have that. So you have your offset entity over here. So when you click it, and you will select what distance you want to offset. So let's select 0.5, and now when I select this line, you can see the offset entity is offsetting this line 0.5. So you have a couple of options. You can reverse where you want to offset the line, and you can also do offset it 0.5 in both directions, so it's like 0.25 on each ends. So that's the options you have, and we're just gonna click OK. And the same thing works for this. We're gonna do offset entity 0.5. We select that line, and it's offsetting the entire triangle. You have the option to do that, or you can uncheck the select chain, and it only offsets that line. So, and again, you have your reverse, and you have your bi-directional. So we're gonna leave the chain on to offset that, and the circle works the same way. You can select offset the circle 0.5. You can reverse it to the inside and reverse it to the outside. So that is how the offset entity works. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome to another lecture. So in this lecture, we are going to be talking about the mirror entities. So to start, let's draw a sketch on the front plane. And now let's draw a line somewhere around here. And make your line vertical. Make sure it's vertical. It doesn't really matter, but just to remember what we've done in the previous lecture, add a vertical relation to it. Then to mirror this line over, we need a center line. So we can either draw a line. Let's just draw a line and make the line coincident with the origin point, and make that line construction line. So you can either draw it that way, or you can select the center line from here and draw it. It's still going to be the same thing. So once you have your solid line and your construction line, so now you want to click the mirror entities. Entities to mirror, you want to select this line, and mirror about, you want to select this line and click OK. You want to leave that copy check and click OK. And that is how you mirror any object. So let's try another one. We are going to do a circle, and we're going to follow the same step. Mirror, entities to mirror this, mirror about that line, and click OK. Let's try one more. Let's delete those two circles, and let's draw a rectangle. Move it somewhere down. As long as it's on this side, it doesn't really matter. So mirror entity, entities to mirror. So with a rectangle, you want to make sure that you select all your line if that is what you are trying to mirror. Because if I select mirror about and I select this line, and as you can see, only this line is mirroring over. So to mirror the entire rectangle, you want to select this and select all your lines, and select this one, that one, and that one, and click OK. So now all your line has been mirrored over. So anyway, that is how you mirror in SolidWorks. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. So in this lesson, we are going to be covering the linear and circular sketch patterns. To start, let's just start a sketch on the front plane, and let's draw a circle somewhere here. And now what we want to do is make a linear pattern of this circle. So to make that linear pattern, you'll press the linear sketch pattern, and you want to press now it's selecting it to align the pattern in along the x-axis, and this is the instances. We can select 3, and down here we can select the entities to pattern. So we click this and select that circle. So now as you can see, we have, let's do 5. We have 5 circles, and now we want to add the dimensions. So let's put 5. 5 is too much. Let's do 1 and 2, something that spaces it out. So now we have 2, and now you can see we have 5 circle patterns spaced 2 inches away from each other. And now we can also do another direction along the y-axis, and let's select how many instances we want to. We would say 2, 3. Let's do 3, and the dimension, let's also do 2. So now as you can see, we have the circle aligned along the x-axis 2 inches apart, 5 circles, and along the y-axis 2 inches apart, 3 circles. So now another thing we can do is instances to skip. So let's say you don't want all the circles, you want to skip some of it. You press your instance to skip, and you can select the circles you want to delete. And let's say that's what I want to delete, and I press OK. And now I have all my circles. So that is how you do a linear sketch pattern. Let's delete our sketch and let's draw another circle. And this time we want to do a circular sketch pattern. So we click on the circular sketch pattern. Because our sketch was already selected, it selected it for us. Let's just exit out of it. Make sure nothing is not selected. Now let's click on the circular sketch pattern. View entities to pattern. We want to select this sketch. And now, as you can see, our sketch is going 360 degrees along that line. This is the radius. You can change the radius here. You can, let's try something 6. And now that's the diameter of that circular pattern the circles is going along. So this has also some other coordinates you can change. And another thing you can do is equal spacing. You'll be using that a lot, and you can tell it how many instances you want to your circular pattern. So let's do 16, and we can also do instances to skip. So we can skip that, we can skip that, we can skip that, and press OK. And there you go, you have your circular patterns. Anyway, thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye. Hello, welcome back. So in this last tutorial for this section, we are going to be covering the move, copy, rotate, and scale tool. So to start, let's draw a sketch on the front plane and zoom in, and let's draw a rectangle and add a dimension to that rectangle. So let's make it 3 and 3. So now to do the move tool, all you need to do is select the move tool, entities to move. Since we want to move this entire rectangle, just like what we did in the mirror, we got to make sure we select all the lines. So a good way to do that is put your mouse click up here and click and hold and drag to select everything, and you will know everything is select because the lines was going to turn to light blue, and you're also going to see them in here. So the start point to move it, let's click this point and we can move it over. So that's the move tool. So the next one is the copy tool, and again we want to select everything, and start point, we want to copy it about any point. Let's pick this point, and let's go back on this start point. We want to pick that point and move it over, and that's how you copy. So let's delete this one, and the next one is the rotate entity. In order to do the rotate entity, we want to make sure that we add dimension to this, because if we don't have to add the dimension to it, it's just gonna break the line. So you always want to make sure it's defined. Then now let's try rotate. Entities to rotate, we want to select this. Center of rotation, let's select this point. The angle, let's select 45. And as you can see, our rectangle has been rotated 45 degrees. And the last one is the scale. For the scale, let's try this, and I'm pretty sure it's going to break. Entities to scale, let's select the rectangle. Scale, because I was working on it previously, I'm going to change that to 0. The scale about, the scale factor 1, let's change it to 1. Scale about, I want to pick that point, and the scale factor, let me change it to 2. And as you can see, my rectangle is breaking. Why? Because I have the dimensions on it. So I'm just going to exit out of that, delete my dimension. So it depends on what you are trying to do. In some cases, you might have to add the dimensions to it to define it, and in some cases you might have to delete your dimension to do what you need to do. So to scale it, now let's go back into the scale, and entities to scale, let's select that. Scale factor, let's try 2, and scale about that point. Now you see it's scaling evenly in all directions. And if I keep increasing my scale size, let me change it to 3, and it keeps increasing. Anyway, that is how you use those two in SolidWorks. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye.